The wind howled across the crimson desert of Argon 9, carrying dust that shimmered like powdered glass under the twin suns. The planet was a graveyard. Endless canyons, cracked plains, and bones of ships that had never left orbit. And amid that wasteland stood Commander Reddon Holt, his uniform torn, visor cracked, his breath ragged. His pulse pounded like a drum inside his helmet. Behind him, the smoke of the crashed transport shuttle rose into the alien sky, and the bodies of his crewmates lay still among the wreckage. He was the last survivor, but not for long, because something ancient had woken. From beyond the dunes came a tremor, soft at first, like a heartbeat beneath the ground, then louder, then deafening. Tum, tum, tum. The ground split open as a shadow the size of a mountain rose from beneath the sand, a creature of scales and fury, forged by the planet storms. Its body glowed with molten veins. Each breath exhaled steam like a volcanic vent. Its head bore 3 horns that curved like scythes, and its eyes burned with liquid amber fire. Reddon's visor scanner flickered warnings faster than he could read them. Unidentified species. Mass, 84 tons. Energy output, lethal? He barely whispered. You gotta be kidding me. The beast tilted its enormous head and sniffed the air. When its gaze found him, the sky seemed to darken. Then it roared. A sound so deep and violent, it cracked the rocks and shattered the remains of the shuttle behind him. Reddon felt it in his bones. Not just heard it, but felt it, as though his chest might cave in under the pressure. He stumbled backward, sand whipping around him. His radio buzzed with static. No one answered. He was alone, and the creature was furious. The roar stopped, leaving a silence so complete it hurt. Reddon clenched his fists. You want me, he growled. Come and get me. The creature took a step forward. The ground quaked. Reddon ran. He sprinted across the dunes, lungs burning, scanning the terrain for anything useful. His only weapon, a plasma sidearm, was half melted from the crash. He had maybe 2 charges left, useless against something the size of a starship. He dove behind a chunk of wreckage and slammed a cartridge into the gun, muttering to himself. Okay, Reddon, think. You can't kill it. You can't outrun it. So piss it off smartly. A shadow passed overhead, enormous wings unfurling like sails. The creature leapt, landing behind him with a crash that sent him flying forward. He rolled, turned, and fired. The plasma bolt hit the creature's chest. It barely flinched. The beast bellowed, the sound shaking the air itself. Its tail whipped through the sand, striking the wreckage with enough force to fling metal shards into the sky. Reddon covered his face. The next second, the beast's massive claw slammed into the ground inches from him, digging a crater. The sheer power of it made his ears ring. He scrambled backward, firing again. Nothing. The gun overheated and died. Reddon looked up at the towering monster. Right, he muttered. That's not working. The creature loomed over him, molten saliva dripping onto the sand, sizzling where it landed. For a second, they just stared at each other, and then something inside Reddon snapped. Fear turned to fury. He'd lost his crew, his ship, his mission, everything he'd trained for, gone in an instant. And now, this monster looked at him like prey. He stood up slowly, chest heaving, meeting the creature's burning gaze. You think I'm going to beg? He said through gritted teeth. No, you're going to remember me. The creature cocked its head, almost curious. Then Reddon screamed. A raw, primal roar ripped from his throat, so loud and violent it echoed through the desert, a sound born of anger, grief, and defiance. For a moment, the beast hesitated. Then it roared back, louder, deeper, shaking the clouds. But Reddon didn't back down. He stepped closer, dust swirling around his boots, eyes blazing. He roared again, louder than before, his voice cracking with fury and pain. It wasn't a fight of sound anymore. It was a battle of wills. Man versus monster. Life versus death. Something ancient flickered in the creature's eyes. Confusion. Perhaps even respect. Its nostrils flared. It tilted its head, For the first time, it didn't attack. Instead, it leaned closer, its molten eyes reflecting the small, stubborn figure before it. Reddon lowered his voice, breath shaking. "That's right. I'm not afraid of you." The creature blinked once, slowly. Then it exhaled a gust of heat that almost knocked him over. But it turned away. It began to walk back toward the dunes. Reddon's jaw dropped. "Wait, that worked." He almost laughed, until the creature stopped halfway and looked over its shoulder. It gave one last rumbling growl, not angry this time, but acknowledging. Then it vanished into the storm. Reddon collapsed to his knees, gasping. His body trembled with adrenaline and exhaustion. He'd survived somehow. Note to self. He muttered into the recorder on his wrist. "If you can't outgun it, outroar it." The device beeped, low on power. Commander Reddon Holt. It repeated mechanically, "Survivor status. Pending." He laughed weakly, then looked up at the red sky. That's when he saw it. A flash of blue on the horizon. A rescue beacon. He started walking. Every step felt heavier, but he refused to stop. The creature's image lingered in his mind. Its strength, its power, and that final moment of understanding. For some reason, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like recognition. 3 days later, aboard the rescue vessel Solace 9, Reddon sat in the medbay while doctors scanned him for radiation. The captain of the rescue team, a wiry woman named Cara Venn, leaned against the doorway. "You're lucky," she said. "We picked up your signal just before the storm hit." Reddon nodded absently. "Yeah, lucky." She studied him for a moment. "The report says you encountered a class Omega entity. Native to Vargon 9. No one's ever survived one of those." Reddon smirked faintly. "Maybe no one's ever yelled back." Kara raised an eyebrow. "Yelled back?" He shrugged. "Long story." Before she could respond, the ship's AI chimed in. "Captain, incoming transmission from Vargon orbital satellite. You may wish to see this." A hologram flickered to life. The image showed the desert where Reddon had nearly died. Only now, dozens of smaller versions of creatures circled a single spot in the sand. The satellite zoomed in. There, etched into the ground, were enormous claw marks. 6 parallel lines, perfectly symmetrical. Kara frowned. "What is that?" "Territory mark." Reddon stared at it, silent for a long moment. "No," he said quietly. "That's not a mark of territory. That's a mark of respect." Weeks passed, but Reddon couldn't forget the beast's roar, nor the strange calm that followed. He spent his recovery buried in research, combing through ancient survey data and lost transmissions about Vargon 9. Most records describe the planet's creatures as hostile, but one obscure log entry caught his eye. Vargon apex entities respond to dominance displays, not aggression. They attack fear, not strength. He leaned back, whispering, "They don't kill the brave ones." The thought both humbled and thrilled him. Months later, Reddon returned to Vargon 9, this time as part of a diplomatic research mission. The galaxy had taken notice of his encounter. They called it the Holt Phenomenon. As his new ship descended, he stood by the viewport, staring at the endless red desert. The landing ramp opened. Wind screamed across the dunes again, just as before. But this time he didn't feel fear. He stepped onto the sand, removed his helmet, and waited. For a long time, there was nothing, only silence and the faint hiss of wind. Then, in the distance, a shape emerged, massive, radiant, and familiar. The beast. It moved slower this time, less like a predator, more like a monarch surveying its realm. When it stopped 100 meters away, its golden eyes locked on him again. Reddon smiled faintly. "I was hoping you'd remember me." The creature's chest rumbled. Not quite a growl, almost a greeting. Reddon took a deep breath. And this time, when he roared, it wasn't out of fear or anger. It was a declaration, a salute. The creature answered, its roar rolling like thunder, echoing across the canyon walls. Man and beast. 2 voices, 1 sound. The others watching from the ship fell silent. They didn't understand. But Raiden did. It wasn't just a roar. It was recognition between equals. When the echoes finally faded, the creature bowed its massive head once, then turned and disappeared into the dust. Raiden stood still for a long moment, smiling faintly. He whispered to the empty desert, "Yeah, I'll see you again, friend." And somewhere in that crimson storm, a faint rumble answered, not fury this time, but laughter.